Hey everyone, Muneeb here. I'm the founder of Stacks. I was joking with some friends back there that I'm going to assume the role of the Bitcoin bull for this event. There were a bunch of questions about what's going to happen in the market. And I think the thesis that we have, we meaning we at Stacks, but in the broader Bitcoin ecosystem as well, is that Bitcoin is going to keep growing. And more specifically, the Bitcoin dominance is going to keep growing. Some sort of like interesting background on this. I've been in this space for around 12, 13 years, and we've seen a lot of trends come and go. We've seen a lot of experimentation happen in the industry, and people in the Bitcoin side always sort of believed that, it's the most valuable thing, and anything that actually finds product market fit out in the industry, out of the experimentation, would actually just come to Bitcoin. And I think this cycle, we're really starting to see this thesis actually come together. Bitcoin dominance is approximately at like 65% right now. And that 65% number is super important because the total number of projects in the industry have actually exploded. So Bitcoin is growing its dominance against the rest of the industry, while the rest of the industry is rapidly expanding. And I think that's a very, very interesting trend to sort of watch. And Bitcoin is seeing the kind of institutional adoption that nothing else is seeing. We've seen Bitcoin ETFs outperform pretty much everything. We're seeing public companies put Bitcoin on the balance sheet. We're actually seeing it sort of like separate itself as an asset class, not within the crypto ecosystem, but actually outside in the broader trading markets as well, where it's kind of like decoupling from stocks, and it's sort of like its own thing. One thing that a lot of people don't pay attention to is Bitcoin is still linked with energy. And there's a very interesting interplay happening right now with advancements in AI and the type of electricity and data center requirements that AI companies have, and how Bitcoin miners are actually collaborating over there. And Bitcoin at this point is pretty much the only asset that is still sort of like is a reflection of how much energy is in the system. And I think there's a very interesting interplay happening with the growth of both Bitcoin and AI hub. So with this in mind, that there is this asset that has frankly been ignored by developers and the rest of the sort of like the crypto industry for many, many years, but it is the fastest growing thing. It's a thing that is the most valuable by far. So how do we sort of like bring it back into the hands of developers, make it more programmable, and build more applications around it? And I think that's sort of like the thesis that we have. There's a very interesting like technical challenge here. It's almost like a triangle, right? Like there are three things. You want Bitcoin to be programmable, and it's not programmable on the base layer. The Bitcoin is very simple at the base layer. It's not programmable at all. And then you want this to be super secure. So let's say to make Bitcoin programmable, you have to move it into an L2. It could be a Lightning or Stacks or some other L2, but it needs to be super secure when you move it, right? And that's a holy grail technical challenge, because Bitcoin is not even programmable enough that when you move it into an L2, you sort of retain some of the trustless guarantees. And that has been a holy grail problem in the space for 10 plus years. And the third requirement is actually UX. Bitcoin is old, like the blocks come at like 10 to 40 minutes on average, and you want Bitcoin to have the great UX of, let's say, a Solana. And that triangle is a thing that, if you can sort of like square it, that's a $1 trillion idea right there. So a little bit of a history. As I said, that for most of the time, Bitcoin has been treated as digital gold. And when developers wanted to build something, they would go to newer chains like Ethereum or Solana or Avalanche, and you pick that. But something changed very recently, and the Stacks community actually played a big role in that, where like a year and a half ago, we started seeing more experimentation on Bitcoin. We saw ordinals, which are like these NFTs on Bitcoin L1. We started seeing more meta protocols. We started seeing more L2s around Bitcoin emerge. And that was a very, very, very exciting thing. And over there, a lot of new sort of like venture capital came in, a lot of new developers came in, and people started doing different experimentation, similar to how back in Ethereum in 2017 and 2018, People were doing NFTs on chain. People are trying to build L2s like Arbitrum and so on. So Bitcoin sort of like saw that revival of interest coming in. And I think as we move into 2025, our prediction is that that market is going to start to mature. We're going to start seeing more mature institutional Bitcoin yielding products, Bitcoin staking products. We are at the staking summit over here. And one really exciting thing is now you can even do staking with BTC. It's at early stages, and I'll get into that a little bit. But we feel that you combine Bitcoin dominance with this developer activity and the L2s that are emerging, and I think that becomes a very, very strong growth area within the industry. So what is Stacks? Stacks is a very mission-driven Bitcoin builders community. And what we believe is that, Bitcoin is not perfect in the sense that Satoshi sort of like started the project, but to actually move it forward, we need to build a thriving developer ecosystem around it. We need to make Bitcoin programmable. We need to create a BTC economy where BTC can be easily deployed, easily used, and payments can be in BTC, and we want to scale this to billions of users on the planet. So it's a pretty sort of like audacious North Star sort of a metric, and I think this is something that excites us. We attract a lot of sort of like Bitcoin believers, and they come in and then with the idea that we're going to carry the mission of Satoshi forward. So if you're not familiar with Stacks, the project started a couple of years ago. And the first version went live in 2021. It's sort of like the largest Bitcoin L2 if you're not familiar with that space. And in the last couple of years, the main thing that we've been working on are two things. One is a huge UX improvement. We called it the Nakamoto release. The main thing that it did was that it brings really fast speed to a Bitcoin L2. Like Bitcoin runs at like 10 to 40 minute speed, right? Like if you're used to using Solana or even Ethereum, that's just not acceptable. So it brings that fast speed while maintaining 100% of Bitcoin hash power. So what the UX looks like is you move your Bitcoin into the L2 and you can get like within a few seconds, you get a confirmation. But as soon as a Bitcoin block comes, now your transaction, the L2 transaction, is actually secured by 100% of Bitcoin hash power. And this hash power is just growing, right? So Stacks can now just piggyback on Bitcoin security while providing great UX to the users. And second main thing was we sort of like unlocked Bitcoin capital to be deployed. So in December, when SBTC is the Stacks version of Bitcoin, is one-to-one backed by BTC. We capped it at around 1,000 BTC, which is like approximately $100 million. The cap filled up very quickly. Then we upgraded it to 3,000 BTC, approximately 300 million in BTC, and that was gone within like 24 hours. And those are early signs for how much BTC capital is out there. There's like $1.5 trillion in BTC capital. And I think if you give people the opportunity to deploy it in DeFi, to start earning yields, I think a lot of that capital actually wants to move. So the way we think of Stacks is it's sort of like the blue chip Bitcoin L2. It's the largest market cap asset. It got investment for some of the top people over the years, and most importantly, it attracts the best builders. We are very proud of our builder community. We're proud of our culture of like always doing the right things, and sort of like leading the way for bringing more builders and capital into the Bitcoin L2 space. What are the things that we are looking at now? For this conference, like there's a lot of interesting opportunities to be a staking provider or a node infrastructure provider for Stacks. There are two things happening right now. One is to be a Stacks L2 validator, where people stake STX, and the yield is actually in BTC. And that's a very interesting product. It's a very unique asset, where if you stake ETH or SOL, you're earning yield in the same asset. With Stacks, you're actually earning the yield in BTC, and BTC being the prime asset that a lot of people want to earn yield in, and they actually want to save in BTC as well. We already got like a ton of like top validators on the network. If you guys are interested, feel free to grab me after this event, and we can talk about it. So some of the yielding opportunities, if you just deposit Bitcoin into the L2, there are some interesting programs going on right now where you can earn a base level yield between 3 to 4%, I think. on just depositing Bitcoin into the L2 and being sort of like one of the early users. But you can do more things. You can actually provide liquidity to something like VLR or other types of DEXs out there and start earning higher yields. And people who are more sophisticated, who understand what DeFi looks like, you can actually borrow on Zest and provide liquidity into Bitcoin-backed stable coins to earn way higher yields as well. And I think this is an area that we expect that as the technology matures, it's going to keep growing and more sophisticated players are going to come in and sort of like make their Bitcoin productive. Right now, most of the BTC actually doesn't earn any yields and it just sits passively most of the time. Some of the things that we're most excited about is that we're doing heavy R&D work on making the deposits into the L2 more trustless. So this I'm dropping some alpha over here, but more details around this are going to come out soon. But the way to think about this is that Lightning is very good at being very trustless. Like you can withdraw your BTC directly from Lightning whenever you want. And some of these solutions don't have that, but they're highly programmable like SBDC, and they have much better UX. And we're trying to sort of like square that and bring all of this functionality to Bitcoin DeFi. With this, thank you so much. If you don't know about Stacks or sort of like what's happening in the Bitcoin world, you should go to stacks.co. If you want to learn more, we're also at Stacks on Twitter as well. Thank you so much.